Good morning, everybody. Great to be with everybody. I've been super pumped about this for so long because at SERHANT, as we were introduced a moment ago, we move kind of fast. You might know us from either seeing us on Netflix or even social media. My name is Coyne, as you were told. I teach a lot of different people about the concepts of AI to make them more accessible. And at our company, it became super important that we were true to that. We found a lot of bottlenecks in this process. And I want to start with a confession. For most of my career, I was stuck on one side of a wall. I understood our customer arguably better than anybody else that worked at our company for a long time. I knew what they needed, and I could describe exactly what we needed to build and ship and provide to them. But I couldn't build it myself. And on the other side of that wall were our world-class engineers, several of which are in this room. Even before anything with AI that was something agentic was in the headlines. We spoke different languages, and the process was describe it, write it, and hand it off, and then kind of hope. There's people in this room that I was handing it off to. Might describe you. There's also people in this room who were the me that was handing it off and hoping that what I asked for had come back the way that I wanted. Now, the best idea in your company right now might actually be stuck in somebody's head who doesn't know how to build it. And it could be built by somebody who just hasn't heard it yet. Even though that I know the number one way to cause a trauma response in an engineer is to hear somebody say, I have an idea. So I'm not gonna hit you with those fresh ones right now. But we've lost something there. And I'm here to tell you what happened when that wall came down and when those two groups stopped being two separate groups. Now, the marketing hype of AI outpaces the reality. It's something that I say a lot. And we see all this FOMO, this stuff that constantly is attacking us on social media and everywhere else, that you're behind if you're not buying this person's course, if you're not ahead on agentic stuff. A lot of people get stuck. They're not willing to admit that they need help. They're not willing to admit that they have this ambition. Companies aren't creating psychological safety or leading by example. And what happened at my company was the opposite. Instead of people feeling like they were going to get replaced, AI was able to help people find their power. People who never spoke the same language were suddenly able to work on and build the same exact thing together in the same place for the first time, especially in our industry. Real estate, even a company like us that's really a media company masquerading as a real estate company, nobody associates real estate with very technologically sophisticated. So, more about us. Founded by a real estate agent for other real estate agents. You've seen my boss. He's a registered psychopath. Don't worry, the cameras aren't actually recording. My job is safe. I used to have hair and his used to be brown. I've been working for him for 12 years. I know I'm better than his wife. It's actually true. So, not only have we grown out of control, we were 12 people on September 15th in 2020, and today we're over 2,000 people. That is insane. I told you I used to have hair. Why do you think I don't anymore? So, now that we're making over $1 billion in sales a month, and the scale is just more and more. People want to work with us and want to expand with us all over the country. We get global interest as the world's most followed real estate brand, producing over 80 videos a day for over 11 million followers aggregate. That's a lot of pressure and a lot of speed that we need to keep up with. So, we had to build something that was very, very different if we were going to compete in this industry. And the answer for us was quite literally something called S.MPLE. Now, this is the agentic AI for real estate. It absorbs the admin work that so many real estate agents spend their time on. I'm being very careful to say real estate agents because I know where I am and who I'm talking to right now, okay? But this is something that when they ask us how we did it, we tore down a wall between the product teams and between the engineers. We put those people in the same room together constantly to develop a product that was truly revolutionary for our space. And then we also chose great partners who share our vision, like Vercel. Got you, Guillermo, wherever you are. Now, it started out as something that you would expect, kind of traditional in a way, where we had different workflows, requests, orchestration, breakdown, spawning different agents and recipes, we called them. And we had humans in the loop from the beginning. We knew early on that removing humans from the process was likely going to result in a lot of mistrust from users. A lot of dog ate my homework, I might as well do it myself stuff that discouraged people from doing that. But we were able to achieve that one request from a real estate agent splits that into the different things they need. It was conversational, and a human stayed in the loop to give it accountability and integrity. And we architected that from day one over 3 years ago. We want to make sure that humans continue doing what humans do best, which is bring that extra spirit and spontaneity that deepen the trust and deepen the relationships with our real estate agents' clients. And here you can see what it looks like. This is SEMPLE Classic. We're going to get to the future in just a few minutes. But this was something that right from their phone or from their computer, they just can fire off whatever it is that they need. They can go into a service team, they can request what they're looking for, and the system begins to fulfill that within minutes. Certain tasks take longer than others, and all of a sudden they've got this relationship with a device that is now saving them all this time. Whether it's marketing, analytics, social media, strategy, transactions, the work that usually eats their day. And this is the product that our company became known for and got everybody's attention. Now, again, this is still two paths. This is still two groups. We're working together. We're having these meetings, but still there's a wall. We were getting recognition. The Wall Street Journal, T-Mobile wanted a partnership with us. I still don't fully understand that one, but it was awesome that this product was all of a sudden setting us apart and differentiating us in the industry. It was great. And then we also had our staff, the ones closest to the customer who understood them best. And the only way that they could act on their ideas was to describe it, write it off, and help when they handed it off. Now, the origin pair, my good friend Mike Williams, who is in the audience today, got us on Vercel for our infrastructure as far back as 2019. He was the original evangelist. And Kelsey Lee, our director of S.MPLE, who came on as the pioneer when we said, hey, would you want to be in charge of a division of the company that builds agentic AI for real estate agents? And she was like, hey, it's 2022. What the hell did you just say? Big risk takers. And of course, the Vercel was the reliable infrastructure. This was the console they were using from day one. We started with PWA in 2023, all the way to React Native iOS in 2024. The API layer never had to move. We went from pilot to 2,000 users with no scramble, with full scaling. This is the dashboard the team depended on, of course. Logs, firewall, analytics, speed, everything. Vercel was an awesome backbone for us. And then we needed to enhance the leadership. So we brought in Jeremy Bunting, who's also in the audience today. Our VP of engineering came to us from Volkswagen and a bunch of other developmental places. And we also brought in a CTO named Greg Chan shortly after that. I believe Greg is here as well. Now, Greg, also being an MIT, ex-Amazon, Microsoft, FinTech, we were recruiting him. He was like, you guys are a real estate company. How much of this is real? Like, you say that you're building all these things, but we made sure that the instinct, whatever they were curious about, whether it was Vercel AI SDK or anything else, we were like, no, here's the repos. Check it all out. It's all real. Their concerns about whether or not it locked us into Vercel with the grand scale plans that we had, all of a sudden, realizing that there weren't any tie-ins and that everything was portable was something that fear resolved. So we ended up with these two groups. We had engineers who'd been shipping software for decades and a product team who never thought they would push anything to a repo, especially me. Two sides of the wall, same destination, same goals, and two roads into Vercel. But that hesitance resolved into trust. It was something that went from hype that we think that, yeah, Vercel's really cool for all these things, but can it go with us? The answer just kept being yes over and over again. So when fear resolved into trust and hesitance resolved into, well, let's go faster, realizing the AI SDK was something that you could bring your own keys, didn't have a tie-in. You could walk, not that you ever would, but you could. But for an engineering leader, that's the whole ballgame. Then things changed really drastically for me personally in 2025. I actually had never worked with vibe coding at all at the time. Tech vision, sure. Being close to the customers and understanding and having those conversations, sure. But it wasn't until I had a lazy day. Necessity is the mother of innovation. Give a lazy person a problem and they will give you a great solution, as they say. We had a little TV show on Netflix that 300 million people were exposed to. It's no pressure, it's fine. When season 2 was getting ready to come out, our CEO said to me, he said, hey, Coyne, can you get ready to start sending me the analytics every single day of how the sites are doing, several different sites, and how the show rankings are doing in the top 10 of Netflix worldwide in all the countries that we get popular in. And I said, there's no way I'm gonna do that every single day. I really just needed a way to not have my boss text me every single day and expect me to do these reports every single day. So when I realized I was on the wrong side of that wall, I was never supposed to be able to build that, the dashboard that ended up solving my problem, but I did. I was able to just go into V0 and I saw that they had added a Claude integration. And I was like, you know what? I'll try it. And then just a few minutes later, I've got my GA4 key integrated and I'm showing it off at the next all hands, like the executive staff meeting. And they were just like, oh, how'd you do that? That's awesome. And the curiosity unlock was there. And all of a sudden, everybody wants to learn this. Everyone's got a different curiosity unlock. But for me, I skipped an entire generation. I went from the Zoetrope to the Apple Vision Pro, just like overnight. I still, to this day, I have never used Claude in a terminal. I have never coded in a terminal. I've never worked in something like VS Code, any of these things. But thanks to V0 with Claude and things like Neon Blob and the AI SDK built in, that secure environment, that prod infrastructure, the domains being integrated and the databases all being right there, the distance from my idea to a real thing went to zero. You like that V0 tie-in, G? Where are you? Anyway. So I watched and I listened to the other people who were struggling to deploy what they vibe coded. I would talk to my colleagues and they would say, yeah, I made this thing, and now how do I get it up and running? Like, how do I make it so other people can use it instead of just running locally on my machine? And I would say, why are you even just use this? It's all in one thing. That's why I'm going faster. Which is why I've been able to ship 23 production apps just since November, things that thousands of our users are using. Which, by the way, the only two industries that call their customers users are technology companies and drug dealers. Did you know that? Anyway, they're really into our software. Now, for 29 things, it took me under 100 hours just to build something called the Agent Business Center. It's an experimental console that brings every single aspect, including things that we don't normally think about, like the agents being able to do expense tracking for all the different transactions related to their deals and automatically marking things as tax deductible and linked to deals. This is stuff that would have taken forever and that doesn't get talked about unless you have your customer in the room, or at least a bunch of people who are close to the customer in the room. Not everything on that list is a sexy concept, but it's super valuable. And we were able to ship something that now is used by hundreds of people across dozens and dozens of teams and all the deliverables that get generated. And then the work that I was doing to make AI more accessible to our real estate agents and to our staff, people who had admitted curiosity, who had opened up about their curiosity but hadn't yet taken the steps. Raise your hand if you've seen one of those tutorials on Insta or TikTok that's like, hey, in order for AI agents to help you, you need a folder structure with all these markdown files. We've all seen that? Yeah? Raise your hand if you've never seen one of those. Raise your hand if you're not going to raise your hand no matter what I ask you. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. So, more coffee in here. So, I came up with the recommendation, like these are the recipe of questions that you need to ask somebody. The hardest part of this was people's fear. Like, there's so many people out there are asking, like, how do we transform our organization with AI? People freeze at the blinking cursor because hype made them feel dumb for not already knowing. So they quit and they go back to a chatbot. People who want to get started with agentic workflows or see those kinds of tutorials I was referencing, they get intimidated. It's hard to write about yourself. So I built this. It asks the right questions. Someone does a guided intake. They just talk. They use their voice. Pulls their personality profile based on their email address using Crystal Nose API integration, which is super fun if you've never checked that out. And then it produces the actual markdown files that go straight into a Claude project or a custom GPT, or even into an agent's configuration of the folder structure and the markdown files about a person. And you can see here, somebody clicks that, the system automatically gets to work building out a variety of markdown files that actually will help somebody do that. They get landed on this deliverables page, and all of a sudden, they're downloading their bundle. There's a guided walkthrough for how to load it up. And all of a sudden, we shortcutted staff enablement faster than anything that I'm seeing in the industry. A year and a half of training that nobody wants to sit through, and having to go person by person with wildly different results. We actually have an accurate snapshot of where every single person in our organization is in terms of their AI journey, capabilities, leadership growth path, how they can plan and fit into their own goals, and how we can empower those things, and where everybody can take advantage of AI. So understanding was able to replace fear, and that made everybody stronger. So if you stop just handing engineering a PRD, you hand them a working prototype. I hear some product folks that complain about this, but I think that there's a statue in the marble. You have the opportunity to go make it better. When staff just stop just describing and instead they start building, engineering doesn't have to guess as much. And you're able to ship more validated ideas. I think that is product market fit becoming product market ship. And that's what we really stand for here. So I want to land this. When the wall comes down, a product comes out of it that neither side could have built without that wall having come down between them. And if Harvey is something that's like the AI for legal, we're continuing to fortify that S.MPLE is that agentic AI for real estate. With thousands of users on the platform today, and that new CTO who originally was a skeptic is now scaling us for the future with that real infrastructure. Now, when you're thinking, is this a wrapper for something? In real estate, you've got some proprietary data fields, multiple listing service data, there's different kinds of finances and commissions that are all calculated. There is a benefit, and there is a data moat to this. It plugs into something that's called the SERHANT Listings API, or SLAPI, we like to call it. And it prevents hallucinations in large part by having humans that are in the loop, those sous chefs that stay in the kitchen. It's fundamental to what the product and the service are. So things like the fair housing guardrail is really important too. You want to make sure that it refuses illegal requests like steering a client who lives in a neighborhood or wants to avoid certain kinds of things. It's very important that we have those kinds of guardrails built in. Now, 144% is the average GCI increase that we see for a real estate agent who is on the S.MPLE platform for their first 12 months with us. The average is 144. Because at most companies, real estate agents will spend 80% of their time, 4 out of every 5 minutes, on admin tasks. And here we let them spend 4 out of every 5 minutes on their clients and their deals and servicing them. And our teams get to focus on the things that are most important while being free to recommend to each other, hey, go experiment with that, go build that prototype. And then there's solutions that we get to collaborate on as a result of this. And coming this September, we're releasing S.MPLE 2, that our agents, or real estate agents, are super excited about. That has a personality in it that allows them to interact with us and get information faster and better in new ways than ever before because of piping in that data and because of having those paths continue to merge. So for us, we never lowered the floor. We just lowered the barrier. And things like security, bring your own keys, scaling that you never think about. We just watched demos about how that's getting better and stronger on this platform than ever before. So we can let a non-engineer like me ship responsibly. And a world-class team and a world-class brand move at the speed that it needs to. So engineers with decades between them and a staff that never pushed to a repo before, the same language in the same place and the same customer for the first time in this industry. Because shipping inspired product together is how we move forward. I'm excited to see what you do to move forward. And I'm excited to see what you ship. Onward.